Good afternoon, hello and welcome to Crafters TV. I'm Lily and I'm so excited to be joining you this afternoon on Crafters TV. We've got a really exciting hour planned. And yes, I did say an hour. We're mixing it up a little bit today. We've obviously got a super exciting day. I'm going to say coming up on Crafters TV, but it's already been kicked off by Ben and Sarah. Of course, it's the start of our amazing CTV anniversary event. And we're mixing up this middle show of the day a little bit. So we've got an hour craft along with myself, sharing this. Right, I was going to say a fabulous project. That sounded like I was showing off a little bit, but this project I'm really excited to be sharing with you. And we've got just an hour on this afternoon's craft along, and it's all about education. It's all about teaching you how to create this project from start to finish with myself, sharing as many tips and techniques with you. But don't worry, we're absolutely not going to be changing our craft along format. We're just sort of mixing up our schedule a little bit. Starting this month, we've got I think about 3 craft alongs that are just an hour in length, just about the education, taking you through these projects, but we will be keeping our craft along regular slot and still involving you guys, because I know how much you guys love your craft alongs. We're going to be trying to bring you craft alongs at the weekends more often when we can, just so that all of you can be joining and crafting along as it fits your schedule. Well, like I say, just an hour for this afternoon, and then we're going to be joined again this evening. Sarah and Ben are coming back. I've got to say, I'm here because Ben's needed a bit of a lie down. You know what it was like this morning, so many exciting deals. Like I say, we've just kicked off our CTV anniversary event. We've got all these giveaways and all sorts, double points going off on the website, and Ben is a little bit tired after doing that 2 hours, and he knows he's got 3 hours coming up tonight, so he's had to go off and have a little lie down. So I said, you know what, I'll step in and I'll do this craft along. But Ben and Sarah will be back this evening, but we're all about the education, all about the crafting for this middle show, and I'm so excited for us to craft along and do this project together. But what you're actually going to need to create this project, and I must say it's an absolutely whopping great big card, so you're going to need your Christmas intricate doily dies. We're using the elegant snowflake, the regal snowflake and the frosted star. From the Sarah Signature Winter Sparkle collection, you'll need your 12 by 12 inch paper pad, your A4 luxury linen card, your winter holiday wishes stamp set, and also your shimmer sprays. You're also going to need your Gemini inverted stitch scallop circle dies. And then your additional elements will be your Spectrum Noir quick dry ink pad in Midnight, your Centura Pearl Hint of Silver A3 card, your multi-purpose card, Hunky Dory Diamond Sparkles Glitter Gemstones in Silver, your Collal all-purpose glue and your tacky glue, foam pads and tape pen. You'll need your Gemini die cutting machine. It can be your junior if you've only got that. You'll need a large guillotine, a scoreboard, your 8x8 magnetic stamping platform, scissors, and also a pokey tool. So that's everything that you're going to need to be able to create this project today. Like I say, it's a massive, great big project, but it's actually really easy to put together, and I can't wait to share with you exactly how we put this project together. But let's get stuck in. But before I do, so many things to remember. With this CTV anniversary going off, honestly, there's so many exciting things. Don't forget your double points. Don't forget that we've got that amazing 3-hour show coming up tonight, but also make sure you get your comments in, not just to keep me company, because I'm here all on my own. You know, I'm in an empty studio. I feel like I'm just talking to myself. I feel like I'm in my craft room, just talking away to myself. But just let me know that you're all there. So get in the comments, not only to keep me company, but also because we are going to be doing a giveaway, like we did on that first show this morning. We'll be picking one of the commenters to win an amazing prize that I'm going to personally pick for you. So make sure you do get your comments in, and we'll be drawing that a little bit later in today's show. A few of you joining us already, I'm hearing, in the old ear. Christine Mahoney's in. Felicia O'Neill's in as well. It's lovely to have all your company. A few names coming through, so thank you for your company. But let's get started on this project. So all we're going to have to do to start with is get some of our A3 Centura Pearl card. Doesn't have to be Centura Pearl. You can use your multi-purpose card. I know we've all been so excited that we've got our multi-purpose in A3, but any A3 cardstock is what we need, and we do need something that's nice and thick and strong, because this is going to be our card base. So something over 300 GSM is going to be absolutely perfect for this, and I've gone for our Hint of Silver just because of the colours of the papers that I'm going to be using later in the project. The silver is going to be the perfect one to go for. What we've done is we have cut it to 16.5 along the long side, And then on the shorter edge, we've gone for 11. So it's 11 inches by 16.5. And don't worry, so I know we've only got the 1 hour. If you are struggling to keep up or you're not sort of taking note of the measurements, I will make sure that I pop all the instructions and all the measurements on my Facebook page later today. That's Lilly Fletcher's Crafter's Companion, so that you will have all those measurements to refer back to. At the end of the day, this is quite a nice, slightly different shaped card. We are doing a triple easel card, so if you do want to replicate this sort of card shape and style with another sort of range that you've got in your collection, then you'll have all those measurements there later, so don't worry too much at all about the measurements. But like I say, it's 11 inches by 16.5. And all we're going to do, and this is a question that we get quite a lot with our Centura Pearl Snow White, it is single-sided, so you've got pearl on one side and on the reverse there's not pearl. And so often we get the question, which side do you score on? And I always say it doesn't actually matter which side you score on in terms of the sort of effect you get. I find sometimes it can be a little bit easier to score on the non-pearlised side, just because I find that you're less likely to slip out the groove on your scoring board, but it doesn't really matter which side you score on to, I always find. What we're going to do to start with is we're going to turn it so that we have got our long edge of our cardstock along this left-hand side of our scoreboard. And we're using a nice big A3 scoreboard. You will need an A3 scoreboard for this particular card size. Like I say, it is a whopping great big card, so we do need an A3 scoreboard. And along this long edge, all we're going to do is we're going to score at 5.5 inches. So just make sure you've butted up that cardstock against that left-hand side, find 5.5, and all we're going to do. Oh, we've got some commenters saying we're here for you. Thank goodness it's not just me on my own. So I was thinking, gosh, it's like I'm back in my craft room having a conversation with myself and nobody to hear apart from maybe the neighbours thinking, oh, gosh, she's gone mad again, talking to herself again. So it's lovely to have all of your company. And I'm really excited if you are crafting along with me. I'm excited to see what you guys create as well. So we've got our... I always struggle with this, horizontal and vertical. Horizontal because it's like the horizon, isn't it? So that is definitely horizontal there, confirmed in my ear, thank goodness. I do have the voices in my head as well, so I have been kept company. So we've got that score line onto there, and then we're going to pop a few score lines in at a right angle to this. So what we're going to do is we're going to score at 5.5 again, but what we're going to do with this is we're going to score just down to the score line. When we get to that score line, we're going to stop. We're not going to have any score lines on that bottom half. So let's find 5.5 and score down to that score line. But once we reach that score line, we're going to stop. And then we're going to score at 11 inches. And what you might notice what I'm doing is I'll pop one score line in, but I'm not pressing down really, really heavily. So I find it's always best to score multiple times over that one area, rather than trying to do one sort of hard, heavy score line. If you score multiple times over that area, what you'll find is you get a better result and you're less likely to crack or crease your cardstock. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take our pair of scissors, and all we're going to do is we're going to trim along these two score lines that we've just popped in there. We're just going to trim along there until we get to that score line. So what you can do, you could do these as pencil lines rather than score lines, but I actually find it easier to add them in as score lines and then just use those as almost like markings to trim down. So nice long pair of scissors, your 6-inch or even your 9-inch pairs of Crafter's Companion scissors will be absolutely perfect for a job like this. You want a nice straight cut line along here. If you do have something like a trimmer, then you could be using this that for this sort of technique as well. But I'm just using my scissors to trim down till we reach that score line. So what we've got now is we've got our score line down the middle, and then we've got these 3 sort of separate pieces like so. What we're going to do next is we're going to sort of turn our cardstock a little bit, and I find it easier to actually sort of pop in. We've got our score lines in there, but just reinforce even. I can't talk, dear. This is going to be a long old hour, isn't it, if I can't get my teeth in. Try and get my teeth in. I can't say it's late, it's only 2 o'clock in the afternoon. But yes, get the teeth in, Lily, get your words out. We're going to reinforce these score lines. We're just going to burnish them down using our bone folder. You'll find that you get a much neater result if you use your bone folder rather than just your finger. It will give you that really crisp crease onto there and that professional finish. So now we've reinforced those score lines, and what we're going to do on each section, we're going to add in a diagonal score line. So I find it easier on the 2 that I'm not working on just to fold them down, and on the one that I am working on, We're just going to focus on this one at a time, and we're going to score from that top right hand corner down onto the bottom left. And this is a top tip. This is honestly one of the, it sounds like the most daft thing ever, but honestly it makes such a difference. Whenever you get a score line, just mark the centre point. Just with a permanent marker, it could be one of your Spectrum or alcohol pens, just mark down the centre so that you've got your score line down the centre where you know that middle point is. Because what we're going to do is we're going to score from that corner to that corner, and if we score along this line that we've marked, we know that we can match it up top and bottom really easily. Rather than trying to work out which one is the score line at the top and the bottom, we know that we've marked this score line, so we just need to score all along here. So starting at that top right hand corner down to the bottom left, I'm going to put that score line in. Anyway, I am hearing in my ear some of you saying you've never seen a card so big. It is a whopper. It's like 3 cards joined together. I thought, you know what, let's go big for this craft along. I would sort of be wanting to win the prize for the biggest craft along, I'm thinking. But this is the sort of project, it's a special card. It's going to be something that you know is going to fill the mantelpiece. If you want just your card on the mantelpiece at Christmas this year, then definitely make something like this, because it really is going to take centre stage. And you could even use it perhaps as a centrepiece on your Christmas dinner table, but definitely it's a special make. But like I say, it is quite easy to put together, and once you know the sort of measurements, you know what you're doing, it does come together quite quickly. So what we've done is we've scored that left hand piece from the top right to the bottom left, and we've done that on all 3 sections onto there like so. And what we're going to do is we're just going to reinforce our score line. So we're just going to turn that over. I'm going to fold corner down onto corner. Oh, I hear we've got a question. Oh, we're hearing, is the A3 scoreboard available on the Crafters Companion website? Absolutely, it should be available to UK customers. If you search for the big score on our website, you should find that is available in the UK. I'm not sure if we have it available in the US, just because basically it's so massive to ship out, but we're just checking on that for you. But yeah, if you do have any questions, I am hearing them through my ear. The voices in my head will feed them to me, so definitely do get those questions in. And I've realised I've actually scored that, not scored it, I folded it the wrong way, so we're just going to fold it back so that our folds go that way. It's not a problem at all though. So we've got our score line in the right way, we're just going to fold them from the front. So you can't get your scoreboard in the US, but you can, I believe, get it in the UK. So if you're in the UK, check out the Big Score. It is a fabulous scoreboard. The thing you would do if you've only got an A4, what you'd need to do, you'd be fine with these top sections, but what you need to do is you sort of score half, and then you just move it up and score the bottom section. So it is still absolutely doable on an A4 scoreboard, just makes it a little bit easier if you've got an A3. But don't think if you've only got A4 that you can't do this massive, great big project. So we've basically got our card base done here, and of course, like I was saying earlier, this could be, you know, decorated with absolutely anything you've got in your crafty stash. So this is just, I say this is just, it's quite a big card. I don't know, there's no just about it, is there really? That's the basis of our triple easel card. So it could be decorated in whatever way you like. But today's craft along is all about our Christmas intricate doily dies. So that's absolutely what we're going to be using to decorate up this card. But we're actually going to pop that to one side for just a moment. I'm going to focus on our mats and layers now. And we're going to do a little bit of spray. I'm going to go a little bit mixed media. I don't like the phrase mixed media, I have to say. I think we all get a little bit worried, don't we? When we say mixed media, we think, well, blimey, we've got to be some sort of messy crafter, some sort of artist or anything like that, but absolutely not. When you've got the right products and you've got a little bit of know-how, it is absolutely easy to add on in different mixed media products. And really all mixed media means is using different mediums. So if you're creating a card, colouring in a stamped image using some sparkle pens, and you're adding a ribbon bow on and a few gems, that's mixed media. You've got different mediums on there. So it's absolutely not anything to be scared of. But we are bringing in some absolutely gorgeous goodies into this craft along project. So this is from the Sarah Signature Winter Sparkle. This launched, I believe it was last week, you know, all the days blur into one, but I believe it was last Monday, if I remember rightly. Goodness me, did you guys go absolutely crazy over this? I knew you were going to love it, but blimey, you did lap it up. But you can still get these shimmer sprays on the website. They should be under the Shop the Day category, and you get an ice silver and a winter haze. I must say, I always used to be a little bit worried about sprays. You just think, how did I use them? You know, how messy they're going to be? How much control do I have? Are they going to give me the effect I want? But these are seriously easy to use, and they're just going to enhance your projects that little bit more. And that's exactly what we're going to do with the shimmer spray. Here we're getting some more questions, so let's bring them in. So Brenda's wondering, how do we cut paper that large? That's a brilliant question, actually. I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll use my large guillotine from Crafter's Companion, and I will trim that short edge first, because you're fine to fit that through your guillotine. But if the size is too long to fit through your guillotine, I'll just use a large pair of scissors, a ruler and a pencil to mark it out, and then just use your 9-inch scissors, and that will give you a nice sort of straight, crisp cut onto there. So if you only had A4 paper, we're wondering how we would do that. So all we do is we do it in separate pieces. So I would probably, if you've got A4, you can do it in 2 separate pieces. So you do sort of the 2 sections together, and then 1 section on its own, and all you'd need to do is just add a tab. So add like an extra 1/2 inch onto one of them as a little tab just on that lower section, and then you could stick the 2 along that lower part there. So do it as a 2 and a 1, and then add a tab onto one of them and stick them together. So you can still do it with A4 card. There's always ways around it, but we do have plenty of A3 card on the website. So what side envelope? Good grief, that's a good question. You'd have to make your own envelope, I have to say. So it is 11 inches in length, so you're gonna have to make your own envelope, but get yourself a scoreboard like we've got on the website. It's definitely one of those you're probably gonna hand deliver, because it is quite so large. But anyway, we're going to go back to our mats and layers, and what we've done is we've cut some of the 12 by 12 inch paper from that Sarah Signature Winter Sparkle collection, and we've cut it down to 5 inches by 5 inches. We've actually done this 3 times, but we're going to do 1, and then we're going to bring in some that we've already done just to speed it up. And we're taking our shimmer spray. This is the Ice Silver. Make sure you give it a good shake, just to sort of disperse all the lovely shimmer that you've got in there. I've just got some kitchen paper, kitchen towel underneath, and all we're going to do is just spray onto our backing paper. And I think sometimes we forget that we can sort of enhance our backing papers. When we've got such lovely designs, we tend to think just to leave them as it is, but a little bit of ink, a little bit of glitter, or a little bit of spray like we've got here is going to really bring out that design and just give it that little bit of sparkle. And when it dries, I'll bring in one I've already done. We'll leave this one to dry for just a moment. It gives it that touch of a bit of sparkle, a little bit of shimmer, a little bit of shine on there, makes it look even more special. I'm going to leave that to one side for a minute. So that's 5 by 5 inches. Cut 3 of those out of your pattern paper. And then what we've also done is we've taken some A4 linen card. That's also even from our Sarah Signature Winter Sparkle. And that's 5 1/4 inches. And we've got three of those. We're going to do our matting and layering just in a moment. We're just going to leave this piece to dry first, and then we'll stick them together. But that shouldn't take too long to dry. Then what we've also done, we've done a similar sort of thing, but with some triangles, because these are going to be going onto these triangular sections of our card base here. So these have been cut to about 5 1/4 inch height for our blue one. So for our pattern one, it's about 5 inch height. And the way I tend to do it is I'll cut it into a square first, so 5 by 5 inch square or 5 1/4 inch square, and then I'll just cut a diagonal down the middle. Nice and easy to do. But again, we've done that 3 times, and just to show you, we're going to add some of the shimmer spray onto one of them, just like so, and you can see how lovely we bring out all that shimmer and shine, and really does enhance the designs that we've got on these lovely papers. So we're going to leave that to one side just for a moment to dry. We will come back to these in a minute to do our matting and layering, but while they dry, we're going to move on to the next part of our card. And of course, just collecting that up with our kitchen paper, it doesn't make a lot of mess if you protect your surface. It's not a problem at all. So I'm going to bring in next some of my absolute favourite nesting dies. These are ones that I use time and time again when I'm crafting, and these are our inverted stitched, and I hate saying them, this is our inverted stitched scallop circle. Easy for you to say, a little bit of a mouthful, but they are such useful dies. They're great when you want your matting and layering to have a little bit of something different, that little bit of a special finishing touch to them. And what you get within each sort of size, you get almost like a pair of dies. So you get your outer die, which is just a really useful circle die. So you can be using that for any of your matting and layering just as a circle die. And then separately you get this inner die. So there's no cutting edge, but if we cut it with that larger circle, that will cut out a frame. If we cut it on its own, it will cut in, and this part in the inside does have a cutting edge, so that will cut a frame in the middle. And then for that extra bit of interest, that extra little finishing touch, we have got our stitching, our faux stitching around the outside. So cut it on its own and you'll get that sort of cut in aperture, but no outer frame. Cut it with your outer die and you'll get a frame, which is what we're going to do in just a moment. And you get that in basically 4 different sizes, and you will find this die under the shop the show category on the website. Really, really useful. On the website you will find different shapes. We do rectangles, ovals, squares as well, but for this particular project we will be using our circles. And what we're going to do is going to start off with some cardstock, again from that A4 linen cardstock selection from the Sarah Signature Winter Sparkle. We're starting off with this darker blue card. It's the same card that we've cut our mats and layers for those shimmery pieces we just sprayed. That same dark blue card. We're going to take our die cut in place. So we are of course going to be using our Gemini machine. These will fit through your Junior, or if you've got your Mini, they'll also fit through your Mini machine as well. And really important, especially when we're cutting 2 dies that we're sort of positioning, so we need to get them in perfect alignment. Always make sure you use some of your low tack tape. And what we're going to do is we're going to centre them like so. So we've got an even border between the 2, so they're nicely evenly spaced, with our frame around the outside and that cutting die in the middle. And once we're happy with our positioning, we're just going to tape them down. That's just reminding me, actually, looking at my cardstock. When you've got your linen cardstock, what you'll find is on one side there's a slightly more pronounced linen texture, and then the other side, although it's not completely smooth, it's a little more smooth than the other side. I tend to use the more textured side, so you've got more of that linen texture showing, and the side you want showing is always the side that you die cut into. So this is the more textured side, the side that I want showing on my project, so that's where I'm positioning my dies onto. And once we're happy that we've lined them up really nicely, we've taped them down, then we're going to run them through our die cutting machine. And I do always say, never just the one piece of low tack tape, make sure you've got more than one piece. So if you've got one piece on one corner, that corner might stay in position, but then the other corner of the die can sort of pivot around. So make sure you've got one on each side, at least 2 pieces in total when you are taping your dies down. So I had one at the bottom there and one at the top, just to make sure there's no way these dies are going to move and slip out of position. And then what we're going to do is we're going to remove our die cut. So we do get the 2 pieces that are both very usable with this particular die. Get this, it's almost like, it could be like a snowflake design, could be like a sunburst or a firework if you like. You can of course be using that for your matting and layering. But the piece that we are wanting, and obviously we've got the frame as well that we could be using on another project. We've got our frame from our darker blue cardstock, and that's what we're going to be using. I'm going to set that aside to set it aside. I'm mixing up all my sayings, aren't I? But we're going to leave that to one side for just a moment, and we're going to remove this die, this inner die that cuts in. We're going to leave that out, and we're going to just take our outer die. And like I was saying earlier, this is just a solid nesting die that you can be using for any of your matting and layering. And what we're going to do is we're going to take some of this paler blue cardstock, and again this is from that same card pack that we used with our darker blue cardstock. And we're going to run that through our die cutting machine using this outer die, taping it into position with our lovely pale blue cardstock, and we're going to run that through just like so. And then we're going to stick the 2 together, and that's going to be sort of our topper to pop our snowflakes onto in just a moment. Of course, you could be adding some of those shimmer sprays to these pieces as well if you wanted to give a little bit of shimmer and shine to your linen cardstock and stop it from being that matte finish and give it a little bit of shimmer onto there. Of course, you could be doing that. It will give you a lovely Christmassy, wintry effect. I'm just going to remove this from the die, so just take your time to peel that tape back. And what I always say, where possible, tape onto the waste as much as possible. Sometimes with certain dies it's not always possible to tape on the waste, but as much as you can, have as much as that tape onto the piece that you're basically going to be throwing away, and less onto that piece that you're going to be using, just in case it does rip and tear. If it rips and tears onto the waste, then it's no problem, no bother at all. But if it does rip and tear onto the piece that you're using, there's always another chance for a butterfly. I always say in crafting, there's no such thing as a mistake, it's just another opportunity for an extra embellishment. That's what it's all about, isn't it? Bringing out those butterfly dies, few gems, few pearls, a ribbon can easily cover up any sort of crafty boo-boo. We don't do crafty boo-boos, do we really? Just a little change of crafty plan, shall we say. So what we've done, we've just seen die cutting the frame and how we die cut that using the 2 dies, and how we cut our backing plate using the 1 die. And all we've done is we've done that twice more, so we've got 3 in total of each. So we've got 3 backing pieces and 3 of the frames. And you'll probably know why we've got 3 of each, because we do have the 3 sections to our triple easel. So it's starting to make a little bit of sense, which is always nice, isn't it? But yeah, we're going to start to mat and layer these together. So you could be using some foam tape or foam pads if you wanted to raise up your frame, but because we're going to be having our doily sort of overlapping a little bit over the frame, I want to keep the frame flat so that the focus will be on the doily dies a little bit more. So this is going to be almost like a mat and layer with more interest, and then we'll be raising up our snowflakes to really bring the attention onto those. A little bit of tape runner onto the back just for speed. When I created my project at home, I actually used my tacky glue in my fine tip glue applicator to glue this down. Again, I always say adhesives are so much about personal preference, but a lot of the time when we are here on Crafters TV, a lot of it is about speed. So just for quickness, I'm using my dotty tape runner, but at home I probably would be using my tacky glue, but it's completely up to you what you find easiest to use. Of course, with your tacky glue, you do have that little bit of manoeuvrability, that little bit of wiggle room just to manoeuvre that into position. But the brilliant thing about these is because the outside frame is being cut using that same die, you know that you're going to get 2 circles that are exactly the same size, so they're going to line up perfectly. It's just a case of sort of manoeuvring them into position to make sure that they are lined up, but you know that they are the same size, so you will get that perfect alignment and it will give you that lovely professional finish. And exactly the same onto this one, just lining that up, gluing that down like so, and then we've got our 3 sort of toppers onto there, just like so. I'm going to have a little check now to see if our shimmer sprays are dry. It's always the way, isn't it? When you check something that's dry, it's the same with them. Tell you what's the worst, glossy highlights. You're desperate to see if it's dry and you stick your finger into it. No, it's definitely not dry. You have to redo it all, but these look good to me. So like I was saying it earlier, it does dry really quite quickly. So yeah, that's all good and dry. So what we're going to do now is going to go back to these pieces. So don't forget we had 3 of our pattern paper cut to 5 by 5 inches and 3 of our solid colour car, mixing all the words, solid colour core cardstock. There we go. Or I could have just said blue cardstock. That would have been a lot easier, wouldn't it? Our blue cardstock is cut to 5 1/4 inches. And what we're doing is we're taking our tape runner, our solid tape runner this time. When I was at home, I actually used my Collal all-purpose. I tend to use that when I'm crafting at home for all of my matting and layering. You have that little bit of wiggle room, but I know once it's stuck and dried, it's going to be really well adhered onto there. I'm going to mat and layer this, and I'm just smoothing it down because we have added some moisture with the sprays onto that paper. You may find that it sort of buckles and warps a little bit, so it will need a little bit of pressing down, a little bit of smoothing into place, but it will still stick absolutely fine. Just give it a little bit of coaxing into position, into smoothing it down, and you'll get that nice finish. And I find it easier to do that from the reverse of your cardstock just as well. You won't get any of this shimmer on your fingers then. I must say, when I was crafting along the other night, creating this project, by the end I was covered in shimmer everywhere. There was shimmer all over my table. It was quite fabulous. It was a little bit messy, but it was fabulous to have a lovely shimmer spray everywhere until I had to tidy it up, and at that point it wasn't quite so fabulous. But it does give you such a nice effect to bring your sprays into all your different pattern papers. It does just enhance that design and gives it a little bit of a different effect. I'm looking at this one now and I'm thinking I've added a little bit of the blue into this one as well, just to add even more colour. So of course you can be mixing and matching the sprays. Within that pack you do get two. You get the one that we use, that's sort of iridescent, and you do get the blue as well. And there's nothing stopping you from spraying one, spraying the other, then spraying the other over the top and getting sort of mixing and fusing effects. It will give you a lovely finish, a lovely different look onto those. Look how lovely that looks with all that shimmer and shine. I mean, the papers were beautiful as they were, but to bring in that shimmer and shine, they look even more special. Just love that. So those are our 3 mats and layers. I'm going to pop those to one side. And do you remember earlier how we created our sort of triangle? I say sort of triangle, it definitely is a triangle, a right angle triangle, I do believe, if I can remember my maths from back at school. Right angle triangle. Yeah, it's got to be right angle triangle. So we created them from a piece of 5 by 5 inch pattern paper. So what we did is we cut this square to 5 by 5 inches, and then we sort of cut a diagonal from corner to corner to give us those two triangular pieces. And then we cut our blue cardstock to 5 1/4 inches square, and then we did exactly the same. We cut in half to get the 2 triangles. And what we're doing, the same process as we've just done with our square mats and layers, we're matting and layering our pattern piece that's got our shimmer spray on onto that slightly larger piece of our lovely blue linen cardstock, just to give us that thin mat and layer. And it's quite a personal thing. I always say so many things in crafting are quite personal, but your mats and layers, the size and width of your mats and layers is completely up to you. I tend to go for 1/4 inch increments, and what you'll find is by having those thinner mats and layers, it will give your projects that sort of touch of elegance and finesse by having those thin mats and layers. Chunky mats and layers about 1/2 inch or bigger will give you more of sort of a childlike or fun and playful effect. So it just depends on the sorts of projects that you're creating. But these fine mats and layers about 1/4 inch will give you that really elegant finish to all of your projects. So we've got our 3 square mats and layers, our 3 triangular ones, and at this point we're going to bring back in our great whopping big card base, the 11 inches. No, it's not, it's 16.5 inch card base, so it's a very big card base. And we're going to start to decorate it up with our mats and layers. So we'll start with our 3 square ones, and these are going to go on this bottom section here. So we're going to have 3 in a row. Completely up to you which way you want your pattern going. So I've got the snowflakes at the bottom there, the bottom there, bottom there. I think I'll have that snowflake design going along that bottom edge. The nice thing about when you've got 12 by 12 inch papers like these, there's so much interest to that page. Depending on the part of that particular page that you're using, you can get a really different effect to your papers. So there's areas of that design that are quite strong in terms of design, so lots of interest on there. There's areas that are more subtle. So depending on that effect that you're wanting to create, use different parts of that pattern paper to give you those different effects. And what we're doing, I find it easier, is to line up and glue down your 2 outer mats and layers and then do your middle one first, because what you'll find is then you'll know exactly how much space you have in the middle, and you'll find you'll get better even spacing when you're doing your 2 outer ones first. And what I'm doing is I've got that same border top and bottom, and I'm keeping about the same border on that right hand side, just so that they're nice and level. And all being well, the middle one should line up perfectly with the 2 on the left and the right. And again, using my tape runner just for speed. Any sort of flat adhesive, perhaps you prefer your double-sided tape, maybe you like your all-purpose glue from Kalal like I do, completely up to you. But just stick those down flat, because this is the base of our card and we're going to have these pieces folded over the top. We want that piece to be flat. We'll be having our stopper onto there, so we want those to be flat so that it's not sort of like raising up a little bit onto there, but we will have our stopper which will be 3D, but we're keeping our mats and layers nice and flat. And then what we're going to do is we're going to add our mats and layers onto the top piece. And what I was paranoid about doing this when I was putting this project together. I thought, make sure you get it on the right side, Lily. So when it's laid down, it's going to be on that left hand side, but I just stood it up just to check that I've stuck it on the right side. You don't want to stick it on the other side and you stand it up and you've got the decoration on the reverse. It wouldn't be ideal. So make sure you do just check, and it is basically onto that bottom left hand, and it will be the same on all 3. So again, the same sort of process, using our flat adhesive on the back of these pieces and then just matting and layering them onto our card base. And what we're going to do is we're just going to line that up. I'm getting some really nice comments in, so thank you so much for all of your company. I don't feel like I'm too alone, which is quite nice. I've got the voices in my head as ever, and that is the talk back. That's not the actual voices in my head. Just to clarify, just for the record there. But it's lovely to hear all your comments, and I really hope some of you guys are crafting along, or perhaps you're saving the show to craft along a little bit later. I would love to see what you've created. Do drop me a message, post it on my Facebook page, or perhaps in one of our Crafters Companion groups. I so love seeing what you all create. I find it so inspiring. I know we're all inspired by each other, so it'd be fabulous to see what you've crafted along. But I am using the Sarah Signature Winter Sparkle collection, but of course you could be using any of your papers that you've got in your stash. I'm thinking the Sarah Signature Frosty and Bright would work really well with this sort of project. Any other papers that you've got would work lovely. Just have a look in your stash and just sort of use what you've got to make the craft along your own project. So you can see the card is really starting to take shape now. We've got those 3 pieces, and really it's just 3 cards joined together. So once you've got the process, it's just a case of repeating it 3 times. It is really easy to create a card like this, but my goodness me, this is a show-stopping card. The size of this, it's huge, definitely a big card. But what we're going to do now is we're going to bring back in these mats and layers, our circles that we did earlier. And you can see if we look at the pattern paper and the coordinating cardstock from the Winter Sparkle, you can see how beautifully everything matches. Those colour tones match absolutely perfectly, and by keeping our mats and layers in that same dark blue, it just keeps that flowing, that design flow. Those mats and layers are the same colour, so it keeps that flow throughout the card, and everything's matching beautifully. We've had one of our lovely commenters saying it would be a lovely centrepiece for a dinner table. I think absolutely, wouldn't that be perfect? And what about doing some placemats, not placemats, place cards, that's the word, that are sort of matching, so you could do almost like one of the pieces rather than all 3, and that could be the sort of name cards that you have at your dinner table, so everything will be matching. I think that would look fabulous. What we're going to do now is we're going to focus on one section at a time, sticking each of these down, and I find the easiest way is, because we're using foam pads, I'll pop one foam pad on the back, then I'll stick this onto here. I'm going to leave about 1 centimetre at the bottom and on the right hand side. And then when I know that I've got that in position, what I'll do is I'll take a couple more foam pads, I'll just peel this piece back ever so slightly, so then I know exactly where I can pop my foam pads. It's still anchored because we had that one foam pad that we popped down at the beginning, but we know that we're not going to add foam pads onto the back where it's going to be exposed on the reverse. So if we were to add foam pads sort of all over the section that we thought we needed them on, what we could run the risk of doing is having too many foam pads and them sort of sticking out on the reverse, which is not exactly what we want. You could be placing your piece down first and then marking on pencil on the back, so you know where you can pop your foam pads, but I find it easier to do this sort of technique. So I'll pop my one foam pad down, I place my finger about there so I know that my foam pad is about there, so I'm going to stick that. So again, that same position, about 1 centimetre from the right and 1 centimetre from the bottom. Now that's just about held in place with that one foam pad. I'm going to take a couple more, so peeling the backs off, pop that just behind there to stick that corner there, and then grab another one, stick this onto this one corner like so, and then I know I've not got too many foam pads on. I've got enough that it's going to hold it, but not so many that it's sticking out on the reverse and having an exposed foam pad, which is never what you want, because then your card ends up sticking to all sorts, which is never good. So we're going to do the same onto this top corner, and again we're keeping that same space and that same centimetre on the bottom and the right hand side, just to give you that continuity, just to make it seem less like it's 3 random cards joined together, and it's sort of one seamless card of 3 parts, so everything's going to be matching really nicely. So we're going to pop that one under there, and if we start to fold this to see how it's taking shape, you can see we've got those mats and layers onto there like so. And doesn't it look nice with that slight scallop? By using our inverted nesting dies, it just gives you that little little extra bit of interest, that point of difference to make your massive card even more special, because this is definitely a special card. This is the sort of one you're going to be giving perhaps to your other half or to a really close family member. I'm thinking this is the sort of thing I'd probably give to my mum. I know she'd appreciate a whopping great big card like this, or perhaps to one of your best friends, but it is definitely a special card, but so much fun to create. I have to say I loved coming up with this card, and I hope you guys at home are loving it as well. I'm going to bring in what this craft along is pretty much all about, which are these fabulous some intricate doily dies, and we launched these last month and they were really quite popular. I know you guys at home absolutely love these. They are so elegant, but the brilliant thing about them, we've got 6 in the collection, but they all offer something a little bit different. For example, this one is a little bit more angular, perhaps great for your masculine cards. This one's a little bit more lacy, so perhaps a little bit more feminine. So something different from each of the snowflakes. And I have to say, you guys know I'm always super honest with you, probably a little bit too honest sometimes, but I did look at the collection of 6 to start with, and I thought, do I need all 6 or do I just need a couple? And then I looked at them a little bit more closely and I thought, okay, they are all a little bit different, I need them all. So of course I got them all. But then the only issue is for this card, we've only got 3 panels. So it's like, which 3 am I going to use? And it was one of those where I was sat on the craft room floor, I had all of the dies, all of the collection laid out in front of me. It was a little bit like playing top trumps. I was like, I'll use that one. I won't use that one. I'll use that one. And it was like deciding which one I was going to use. Finally, after about 3 hours, no, it wasn't quite that long, after, I'll probably say it was at least 5-10 minutes of deciding. Wasted a lot of crafting time there, but I'm not great with choosing crafty things like this. That's the thing about having everything. It does make choice difficult, but it's better to have choice than not to have choice, is what I always say. But what I've gone for is I've gone for the elegant snowflake, gone for the regal snowflake, and I've gone for the frosted style. But the beauty is, of course, if you are buying this collection today, you're buying 5, you're getting 2 free. You'll get them all. So you'll get absolutely everything within this range. What we're going to do is we're going to take our dies, and we've got some more of that lovely Centura Pearl hint of silver. So I'll cut it down. This is quite generous for me. Look at the size of that piece of cardstock. I've got all that cardstock around the outside. Blimey, I must have been feeling very generous when I prepped this craft along. Because you know what it's like with me. It's like usually it's cut to exactly the same size of the die, and there's absolutely no wiggle room whatsoever. So, blimey, I don't know what came over me this day. I'm thinking, all this wasted cardstock. This is not good. I've got a good 2 centimetres on that right hand side. I could fit a sentiment onto that. Oh dear, I'll be having words with myself afterwards. I'm going to cut 2 at a time, just because I've got such a big piece of cardstock. I can't fit another one in. So that's another thing. It saves you time, because I could have run all 3 through if I would have cut my cardstock down. But no, that's why you always cut your cardstock to exactly the same size of your die, and that's why you tape it down just in case it does move. But back to the craft along, and me stop telling myself off. We're cutting 2 at a time of our lovely doily dies with that fantastic Centura Pearl hint of silver. Of course, the size of these will allow you to run them through your Gemini Junior. Perhaps you've got your Mini. But oh my goodness, look at the detail in that. It's cut through first time. You can see, if you look at the reverse, how beautifully they've cut. No need to run them back through, no need for a metal shim or anything like that. Wow, clean cut, first time, absolutely stunning. And it was one of these, they're such delicate dies. I did look at them to start with before I cut them, and I thought, are they going to be one of those difficult dies I'm going to have to run them through, perhaps with a metal shim or anything like that? But the power of the Gemini and the quality of these dies is one cut through. I've cut quite a few of these now, and I've never had to cut any of them more than once. I've never had to add a shim in. It's been first cut every single time, which is absolutely fabulous, because let's be honest, if you're making a lot of Christmas cards, it might not sound like a lot to have to do 1 extra cut, but if you're making 20 Christmas cards and you're having one of these snowflakes on every single one, and you're having to cut the die twice every single time, if you're making 20 Christmas cards, instead of being 20 die cuts, it's suddenly gone up to 40. It is, yes, my maths is right. Doubling 20 gets 40. I'm sure I'm right. Please tell me if not. Maths has never been my strong point, much rather be crafting. But if you think about that, you're having to double the amount of cutting time, which is obviously going to make a big difference. So by having a quality machine like our Gemini, I could wax lyric about this machine day in, day out, and I know all of the craft experts are the same. We love this machine. We get our different sizes. We have one in practically every room, because you need them everywhere, because they're fabulous. But a brilliant die cutting machine, brilliant quality dies. It's like a match made in heaven. You know you're going to get your perfect cut every single time. So again, Look at this detail. And I mean, this is not thin cardstock. This is over 300 GSM cardstock. Your Centura Pearl, like I was saying earlier, feels like hours ago now. We've only been here 45 minutes, but the start of the show feels like a very long time ago. Must have got lost in the crafting as we always do. 300 GSM cardstock, great for construction, but look how beautifully it die cuts, even with your intricate dies. Absolutely amazing to be able to do that. But we do have a question. I am hearing a question. What have we got? Ooh. Okay, so we're wondering about the shimmer spray warping the paper. Now, we did touch on this a little bit earlier, but basically your shimmer spray is a liquid medium. So obviously, if it was solid, it wouldn't be coming out of the nozzle. Well done, Lily. So it's definitely a liquid medium. So there will be obviously moisture in there. So when you add it onto your paper, it will warp a little bit. But when you leave this to dry, you will find that it will flatten out a little bit. And by the time I've actually matted and layered that onto there, you do have a slight warp onto there. With this being a paper and not a cardstock, you're obviously going to get more, I was going to say warpage. You know what I mean? It's going to warp a little bit more warpage with your thinner papers, because obviously this is our decorative paper, which was a little bit thicker. It will be less on cardstock, but by the time you've matted and layered it down, you've burnished like we did, we turned it over, we burnished it from the reverse, you really don't get a lot of warping onto there. It's really not very noticeable at all. So a little bit to start with, a little bit of warpage, but nothing that's a particular issue at all. Hopefully that helps. And we've got another question, which, Oh, this is a good question. Centura Pearl, is it printable in your printers with that download that we've got? That's a good question. I do believe it is. I want to say it is. I'm sure it says on the website that it's a printable paper, but I think it will depend on the sort of printer ink you've got. We're trying to find out, but I know in the past I have personally printed onto Centura Pearl years and years back. So do you remember? You guys at home will probably remember as well, when we used to do all our CD-ROMs here at Crafters Companion. Still love all our CD-ROMs that we used to do, all the lovely pretty papers. And I do know I have printed some of our backing papers before onto our Centura Pearl. So I think it will. Do you know what I would say? I'd give it a go. I wouldn't print a fully A4 even. Got A3 card on the brain. It's with this massive, great big card we're making. I wouldn't print like a full page. Right, so the website is saying it's suitable for use with a range of inkjet and laser printers. So it sounds like we're good to go. What I would say, and who was it that sent that question, please, Nicola? Angela, I would say give it a go. Don't print a full A4 sheet just in case. I don't want you to waste your cardstock. I print a little small design on part of your piece of cardstock just to test it out. But I think it'll be good. But I like that idea. How fabulous. If you've got that downloadable 8x8 pad, how amazing would that look printed on Centura? It would look incredible. So definitely give it a go and let us know if you do give that a go and it works. We want to know, because I want to be doing it. I'll be printing everything on Centura Pearl. It would look amazing. But fabulous questions, do keep them coming. So what we're doing now is we're going back to our snowflakes, and all I'm doing is I'm taking my pokey tool and I'm literally just giving them a little bit of shape. This is something I always do, and I don't think many other people do this, probably because it's a bit of a daft thing to do. We have all the proper tools and everything. We've got our ball tools. You could be using that to shape, but I just find when you've got that sort of cylindrical barrel to your pokey tool, I find it's really easy to roll your die cuts over that just to give them a little bit of shape. So all we're doing is we're just shaping the edges of our snowflakes just to give it a little bit of life and dimension. So it's really going to sort of make these die cuts pop when we add it onto our card base. And we're doing the same for all three of the different snowflakes. And of course you could be using any of the snowflakes within the collection. It doesn't have to be these particular three. You could do three of the same snowflake if that's what you prefer. What you can also be doing with these, they work really well as 3D hanging ornaments. So you could be cutting several of these, folding them in half, back to back in them, adding some thread or ribbon through the middle, and these make fabulous hanging ornaments. So don't just think about cards, not just even massive, great big 16.5-inch cards either. Think about your home decor as well. You could be decorating your Christmas table, like we've said. We could be decorating perhaps in a window with these hanging down. You could be adding them onto your trees. So lots and lots of different options with these dies. But what we've done is we've just shaped those like so, nice and easily, and we're going to bring back in our card base, and we're just going to stick them onto the centre of our circles that we've popped onto there. So I'm going to use some of our dotty tape runner. Like I was saying earlier, I did use my I nearly said foam and a roll. Where did that come from? My tacky glue. I've got foam and a roll in the brain. Good job nobody's here to sing along with me. I can just pretend that I've not said that. Mind you, all you guys in the comments will be saying it now. I can see Liam's in the studio as well, setting up out the corner of my. He's having a song and a dance. But yes, I know it'll all be in the comments. But not foam and a roll. I was thinking of tacky glue, which is nothing like foam and a roll, really. At home I did use my tacky glue into the centre of these, and what you want to do is just add your glue into that middle section, not all over, because we want the edges of these snowflakes to sort of stand proud. We've added the dimension onto there, and we want those lifting up so that we've got that dimensional effect on there. There's not really any point in adding that shape on if we're just going to stick it all down flat. And I found they are a little bit too delicate to get a foam pad behind there. So by shaping the edges, you're going to still get that dimension, but without the need to actually add a foam pad behind there, which just gives you that lovely bit of lift without having to worry about where you're going to fit the foam pad. Fit the foam pad. Oh, blimey, that could come out wrong. I'll make sure I get my teeth in for that one, that's for sure. But we're sticking that last one into there like so, adding that shape back in, rolling those. I keep wanting to call them petals. What do you call them? Like the edges of a snowflake. I want to call them prongs, but that sounds a little bit violent. I'm not quite sure if it's got a name. Like, I feel like there should be a name, because obviously it's like a petal for a flower. Just, I don't know, like a snowflake petal. But anyway, we're shaping our snowflake petals, and we've got that onto there like so. And that's starting to look really quite nice, if I may say so myself. That did sound like I was showing off again, wasn't it? Blimey. I'm quite proud of this card, I have to say. And I hope you guys at home are loving it too. To finish off the centre of our snowflakes, you know, I'm like with my gems and my pearls, and this was another one where I was going through got a big drawer of full of pearls and gems, as I'm sure you can imagine, lots and lots of gems, and I was going through, couldn't decide, did I want a gem, did I want a pearl, did I want it blue, did I want it silver, was it going to be white? I spent, again, a good 10 minutes deciding, and in the end I thought, right, we're going to go nice and blingy. We've got that lovely shimmer onto our mats and layers. Let's bring out these sparkling gemstones, and these are actually a Hunky Dory product. I know we used to have these on the website, so some of you guys at home might have these. They are Hunky Dory sparkling gemstones, and that's our sparkling silver that we've got. It does really just finish off your snowflakes to have that little bit in the centre, just like when you've got a flower, to have that centre of the flower. It just finishes those snowflakes off really nicely. But of course, no easel card, that's a different sort of easel card. Next week's craft along. No, I'm joking. Easel card is what we're doing. No easel card is complete without stopper, but of course this is a triple easel, so we're going to need 3 stoppers. And what we've done is we've taken a stamp set, and again this is from that same Sarah Signature Winter Sparkle collection. This set is called the Holiday Wishes stamp set, and I thought, because we've got 3 of the same, I sort of sat thinking, do I have 3 different sentiments? Do I have 3 the same? What do I do? But I thought, do you know what, if I use this stamp, we'll have let it snow, let it snow, let it snow, and it'll work almost like the song. So I thought that would work quite nicely. And what we've done is we've cut our multi-purpose card down to size, and we've stamped using a Midnight quick dry ink pad from Spectrum Noir. Now our quick dry ink pads are the best ink pads within our Spectrum Noir range for doing your stamping with. If it's just a sentiment that we sort of are not worrying about colouring in, one of the best ink pads to stamp with is your quick dry. It'll give you that lovely crisp stamped image. I mean, look how fine, we've got all that detail into there. Looks absolutely gorgeous, stamped out perfectly. But of course, like I always do, I used my fabulous stamp platform to stamp that onto there. So what we're going to do is we've stamped this, of course, 3 times, 1 for each, and of course with it being a stopper, we need foam pads on the back just to raise it up. otherwise our card will be falling down. That'd be quite sad when we've got such a nice big card. We don't want it falling down. So make sure you've got plenty of foam pads onto there. I think these are about 3mm depth, so it's going to give it a nice little bit of lift onto there. You will of course find your foam pads on the website. And what we're going to do is, I always say it's up to you how sort of stood up you have your card, or if you want it quite far forward. What I'm going to do is I'm going to line up that edge with that corner there. So just lining that up, and once that is in position, I'm just going to line up that stopper and stick it down like so. Do you know what? I'm going to move that over ever so slightly. That's the beauty with when you're using your foam pads. Before you have pressed it down fully, you've got almost like a little bit of grace to be able to pull that up and reposition it as needed. Same with the centre one. So again, it's just like I was saying earlier, it's that process of repeating that process 3 times pretty much. So once you know what you're doing with one, you just do exactly the same with the other 2. So it's nice and easy to create a card like this, which is super fun to get together. I really hope you've enjoyed doing this craft along. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. I really hope you guys at home are going to be recreating this, because I can't wait to see your take on this. I think we're going to get some amazing creations, and it's going to start a triple easel card obsession. I'm hoping so. I feel like I'm going to be doing quite a few of these. I do have a few more craft alongs coming up, but I promise there'll be no more triple easels. I've got a nice diorama card coming up on Thursday. But this is our craft along for today, using those intricate Christmas doily dies. Triple easel card, bringing in some of our Sarah Signature Winter Sparkle, some of those inverted nesting dies. You saw how really quite easy that was to put together. Like I say, just a process of repeating that 3 times, but what a show-stopping centerpiece that is. So much fun to create. So something very exciting, aside from our craft along of course, which was of course very exciting. Well, I enjoyed it anyway. I hope you guys at home did as well. Something super exciting that we have been doing. It started our anniversary, our CTV anniversary. Ben and Sarah kicked it off this morning. What an exciting wake-up call it was. If you didn't join them for that, make sure you definitely tune back in at 6 o'clock tonight. We've got a 3-hour special. But you might have heard, if you tuned into this morning's show, that every single live hour, I know not every single show, as I thought it was to start with, every single live hour, and tonight they've got a 3-hour show. Every single live hour, we're giving away an amazing prize to one of our lucky viewers and commenters. So all you needed to do was just leave a comment on today's show, and you've got the chance of actually winning. So who have we got for today? Our winner for today is Cynthia Wood on Facebook, who has left us a comment. You are the winner for this hour. Super excited for you to win, but you know what, even more exciting, I actually get to choose what you win. And look at everything that's on there. So all you're going to need to do is going to need to email prizes at crafterscompanion.co.uk.com. Prizes at crafterscompanion.com. Slap on the wrist, got that wrong. And you're going to get a fabulous prize. And what am I going to choose? What am I going to choose? Taylor was showing me all the prizes earlier, and I was thinking, the first thing I did say, of course, was, can I win? No, Lily, you can't enter. I was a little bit gutted, I have to say. But I was thinking, what would I want to choose? So I want to choose something different to what Ben chose this morning. Of course, just to mix it up a little bit, but something I think that we do so well here at Crafters Companion are all our amazing craft kits. So what I would love to gift to you, Cynthia, is one of our craft kits. Now, it could be any one of them. It's going to be a little bit of a mystery until you get it, but I'm going to be sending you one of our fabulous craft kits. I love a craft kit, and quite frankly, I buy multiples of each. So even if it is one that you've already got, you've got all those papers, you've got all the stamps, if there's stamps in there, you've got your gems, your ribbon, whatever's going to be in that craft kit. And if there's a sort of tools that you've already got, give them to a crafty friend and they will be absolutely delighted with it. But what a fabulous prize. Make sure that you are tuning in to every single show throughout our CTV anniversary event. It's running from today, so we kicked it off this morning, and it's running all the way till midnight on Sunday. We've got such an exciting day on Sunday planned. I can't say too much. Jenny's through there, and she'll not be happy if I give away too much, but we've got a super exciting day to wrap it up on Sunday. But all the way through this week, we've got treats galore, we've got amazing deals. I mean, Have you seen what's coming up tonight? My goodness me, some of those deals, I'm thinking as soon as I'm off here, I'm back at my desk getting my ordering, I can tell you. And don't forget that there is double points on every single order that you place throughout this week. If you're anything like me, you'll be placing quite a few orders, double points on every single one. And on every order that you place, it's over £10 or $10, you're going to be getting an absolutely fabulous free gift as well. It's that phone holder type thingy. Technology, I don't quite know the proper names, but a fabulous gift on all orders over £10. Thank you so much for all your company today. I've had a fabulous craft along. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. Like I say, I have got another hour craft along coming up this Thursday at 2 o'clock. Really excited about this one. It's the 3D Christmas scene builders. I was finishing off my project last night. I'm really excited to share it with you, so I hope you can join me back then. But of course, lots more coming up before then. Make sure you're back here at 6 o'clock tonight. Ben's had his sleep, I hope he's back in time. It might just be Sarah, but Ben will be back. He'll be back and revitalised, ready for another cracking 3 hours. Lots and lots of deals, lots and lots of lovely, brilliant crafty inspiration as always. But thank you so much for your company and have a wonderful rest of the day.